Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Crisis 169 coming to you live with Power Spectrum Internet. I'm here. You're here. Let's go on now. The topic of this video is going to be about live stream. Is going to be about more fallout from the Xbox Activision failed buyout. Really, not much to talk about in gaming news this week. Really, my weekend roundup will happen tomorrow. Well, I will not be talking about this situation. I will not be mentioning the failed buyout in the weekend roundup, but mostly this is what's going to be like comic book guys. Xbox is still fans are still kind of pissed off at the fact that they couldn't buy out or get approval to buy out that could not buy out the Activision. And I think it can. I think it could be a blessing in disguise for a good old fashioned, Xbox in the sense that this could help them more than anything else. And what I mean by that is, it's going to be something really weird. Okay, it's going to be something extremely weird, extremely hard to understand, unless you don't sit there and unless you lived under a rock for last year, or the last 2 years anyway. Microsoft was trying to buy Activision, and buying Activision was something that they were trying to do, and trying to get more company on the belt. But I think with Britain's stop on it, and a lot of things like that, even with PlayStation chiming in for all it's worth, people were having enough of it, really, with Microsoft and Activision, because they see what's going on with Bethesda and the lack of quality games coming out of that. And yes, people say, well, Sony bought Insomniac Games and other studios too, like Bungie. But to rebuttal that in a way that makes sense for people to understand this, Sony has used those IPs to actually make good games. Okay? They weren't just buying IPs just to buy IPs. Okay? Sony wouldn't buy IPs just to buy IPs, just, to corner the market. There's reason to the madness for Sony. And maybe it's not good all around. Maybe all around it wasn't great anyway. And maybe it wasn't. Yeah, my case is a Nautica, by the way. Just like my cooler. Anyway, though. So maybe it wasn't the same thing. And maybe it's two different situations. But looking at Sony take their IPs and make something of it, and Microsoft take their IPs and totally have a cluster F of a mess, kind of makes you wonder what's really going on over there and can't Microsoft. Hey, buddy. And what's going on over there can't Microsoft? And why are their studios having trouble with with situations at hand like this? With situations of having to sit there and deal with the fact that there is problems with the games development and games coming out polished and ready to rock and roll. And that's something that I think no one can ever understand. That Microsoft themselves, the multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that they are, has trouble with simple, basic understanding of games, and they have multiple game studios and multiple hundreds of franchises, and yet they release a game like Redfall that goes down the toilet. They release games like Starfield coming out in September. That better be a home run. But yet, we kind of know it's going to be one of those weird type of morph games where it's going to be kind of silly. And I hope Starfield is not, another Redfall or a State of Decay 2 where it takes months or a year to finally get going. But that's something that, needs to be understood. That being said, what is the real reason for Microsoft to do this if all they're going to do is torpedo their own franchise? I'm going to clean my glasses and I'm talking to you guys. That's what I do. I do things like this. But what is the issue? I feel more comfortable doing this, talking to you like I'm talking to a friend, But what's more like this, though? What is the issue with Microsoft? What is the issue with them not being able to round out first-party hits? Why is it so hard for them to come up with a home run? But yet, Sony can just wave their magic wand and boom, games come out almost looking like a masterpiece. But yet, Microsoft has trouble doing the bare minimum. And that kind of bugs people like me because I have Game Pass Ultimate. Like a lot of you guys have Game Pass Ultimate. A lot of you guys have Game Pass Ultimate too as well as I do. And we have been on 364, Xbox One 360 for myself, even Xbox One X right now. I have. It's an older console, but it still checks out pretty well. But that right there should be a key moment in people's lives to understand what's really going on and why is this way. Why is this so hard for them to understand? Why is it so hard for Microsoft to get? Why is the studios that they have making crappy games instead of making first-party exclusive great games? And it has to boil down to the fact that maybe we believe that Microsoft, knows no wrong because we think that because they, did the operating software, Windows, that they know a lot about games. And that's not always the case, folks. Not every company that does something like, look at Sega. Prime example of Sega, okay? Let's take it back about 20 years. And let's look at Sega. Okay? Look at Sega and what they have done. And they've done a lot of weird stuff. Okay? And they've done a lot of weird stuff. They've done a lot of things that are considered blasphemous against the gaming community. They went beyond the gaming community. They didn't help the gamers at all. They went against the gamers in every step of the way. They didn't know how to take care of us in a way that they should have. And that being said means something to somebody. Like I said, though, and maybe in some alternate universe, it's going to be that way. Okay? It's going to be that way. That they try to do things the way that doesn't work out. And maybe not. And maybe it doesn't work out that way. I mean, maybe there is no way to fix it. Maybe there is no way to understand it in the sense what's really going on out there of why they did it and why they had issues doing it in the first place. But when they bought this studios, they kind of knew what they were getting into. And only a fool would sit there and not think anything of it. Sorry, guys. I know I do that all the time. I'll do things as I'm talking to you because that's just how I am. But really, what boils down to this situation? Why is the acquisition bad? I think it's bad because it takes a game franchise like Call of Duty, where I think Call of Duty is pretty much the grizzly shits right now when it comes down to first-person shooters right now. The grizzly shits, where it doesn't have a Steam base anymore. What really cares? It's a bunch of fanboys that'll take anything that Activision does and smile and take it, and they don't care if it's bad or not. As long as they can play precious Call of Duty, they don't care. And it's really sad when you have a group of people who's going to whore themselves to a company or to a game just so they can whore themselves to a game or company. And, I think it's wrong. I think it's morally wrong. I think it's morally wrong in the same sense. No, I think it's morally wrong than anything else. Vitamin Day. More than wrong today. Vitamins. And I think it's wrong that way. Sorry, guys. Vitamins. I take vitamins every other day. They're mixed up. I mixed up vitamins, mixed them up in a bottle, so I take them all at one time. They're all good, like B12 and stuff like that. So and vitamin C, good stuff. Anyway, though, the point being is this. In closing, here, I think the acquisition that Microsoft tried to do with Activision was apparently very, very open-minded for Activision, for Microsoft. They wanted the biggest franchise ever at the time, Call of Duty. And they actually even approached Activision years earlier, a decade earlier. A lot of people don't talk about this, but Sony and Microsoft approached Activision about 10, almost 20 years ago, wanting to buy that company or buy it in pieces. So a lot of people don't talk about this because it's not really well known. Now, I done a little digging, a little research, and my Activision, and the reason why Call of Duty failed, what happened, that's coming next week, next Thursday, I do believe. I'm going to go in detail about this a little more. But yeah, Activision was approached by Microsoft and by Sony before. Nintendo wanted a piece of my Activision at one time too as well. And this is way before the Call of Duty craze came up. Activision had a lot of IPs that people wanted their hands on, more than Call of Duty at the time. So that being said, Activision being bought out by Microsoft or Sony 20 years earlier, that could have happened because it was on the table. I know the talks were kind of closed door talk, but I knew they happened because there is some substantial claim to them online. I had to do a lot of digging to find this stuff up, to really research it. This is going to be part of my what happened to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 video coming up on Thursday or Wednesday, probably Thursday. Well, I'm going to talk about this in great detail. How Sony and Microsoft, a decade plus earlier, approached Activision to buy them out, to buy them into the company. And some claims said that Microsoft and Sony are trying to do a partnership where they bought half the assets or whatever, or Nintendo was going to buy some. It was really weird. And Activision, of course, said no, blah blah blah. No, we didn't know Call of Duty wasn't out yet at the time. Activision was going to, but they didn't. Blah blah blah. Different reasons why. But the point being is this, guys. Activision ain't the first time they've been approached by a company. Nintendo wanted to buy them out. Sega wanted to buy them out one time. Even Atari was trying to buy them back into the fold of Atari way back, in the 80s before the crash happened. But that being said, though, Activision has been around a long time. And even works that Capcom was in the works to being bought up by Sony at the time. The scatterbug was that if Activision got bought by Microsoft, then Sony would buy Capcom and own the rights to Resident Evil franchise. That's very popular too, as well. And Dead Rising, that kind of faded from limelight, but could be resurrected if that reason. So, there's different things. There's Dino Crisis as well too that was on Capcom's list of games. So there's a lot of franchises out there still, and I think for Call of Duty to be put in the forefront of so much nonsense that to me is not warranted. Call of Duty is not like it was 10 years ago. Call of Duty is bland, it's weak, it's no longer fun. Like I said, Call of Duty is your 40-year-old father, 45-year-old father who's trying to be cool, for his kids' friends with a skateboard that falls and breaks his ass bone. That's what Call of Duty is right now. They're no longer the tongue sticking out, middle finger, tongue sticking out, cool kid on a skateboard. No, they're the 40-year-old, watered down version of themselves that's no longer hip and cool. And why are these companies fighting for this god awful entity when you have stuff like Dead Rising series you can go after? It's a Capcom, of course, but you can revamp Halo, Microsoft. You can take Gears of War and turn it into a new area. You can take PlayStation. You can take a Resistance and bring that back. Infamous Second Son. Infamous series. Why are we fighting over a Activision that has, yes, it has World of Warcraft and it has all the other crap to it, and that's great, woohoo. But you have EA with Apex Legends. That's Apex. That's kicking the Call of Duty. You have Overwatch that was decent, but now laughing stock Overwatch 2. So I can see why Activision is trying to get gobbled up by Microsoft, because they put all the crappy games on Game Pass, and who cares? And I'm not worried about it. I mean, more games for the Xbox fan base. But it means more, it means less and less quality assurance. Because you don't think the Call of Duty won't be scrutinized anymore? It won't be. It'll be literally just thrown on Game Pass. It could be a broken, buggy mess, just like State of Decay 2 was, and sit there for a year and a half and finally get fixed. After 2 years getting fixed. Just like happened with Battlefield. But unlike Battlefield, and the EA didn't do a lot of shucking and diving at first. They tried to. But we all knew Battlefront 2 was a cluster F. And they kind of stopped from shucking and jiving and gave us the truth, finally, about how bad it was. But at least they fixed it. And they didn't put in a bunch of damn, give us more money, damn, unless you can count the new upgrade gold or elite pass where you can get, all their crap for $29, $30. I think that was crap, and that was ported on by Born to Game at first. Born to Game created that one first. He talked about it first, so I give a shout out to him for reporting that. But really, I think the biggest thing is what Activision is right now is they have to understand this. They have to get the fact that they have to be They have to start thinking, okay, we're not being bought out by Microsoft. Sony probably won't want us now. Nintendo Switch can't hold Call of Duty on it. So what are we going to do? Now they're going to do something. And they'll probably, hopefully, restructure their gaming division, Call of Duty area, and hopefully fix it up. Because right now, some screenshots of Modern Warfare 3 looks pretty interesting. But it still doesn't mean I'm going to rush out and buy it. But they're trying to make a wrong a right. Hats off to them. It only took about, 10 years, 5 years to figure this out. But hats off to them for trying. But I think they saw, and I'm going to play devil advocate here. I think they saw a way out with Microsoft. I think the CEO and Chief Operating Officer, got the golden parachute ready and put it on. Realized, you know what? We out this bitch. And they clicked it up and said, we're gonna sell to Microsoft. We're gonna get our $1 billion a piece. What we're getting, and we're gonna set sail. And we're gonna fly away and look back and see the smoldering, burning down Activision, and just laugh all the way to the bank. I thought that's what they were thinking in their minds. We out this bitch. We're not gonna be, we're not gonna do this anymore. With sexual harassment problem, with the games looking like crap, with the internal people quitting constantly, they're reshuffling the people around. Yeah, you kind of saw. I saw the writing on the wall real quick. What they wanted to do. They wanted to take this thing and Hail Mary pass it to Microsoft for the final touchdown, win the big game, and just run off the field, get in the bus and just drive away, get their billions of dollars and just run. And I can't argue with that because Activision has been poorly run for the last 10 plus years. It's been poorly run. It's been issue after issue after issue. With the whole fiasco with World of Warcraft being $10 and being free and back $10 a month or a year or it was, and people were just World of Warcraft constantly having issues, but finally getting better. A lot of MMOs are just really hard to really understand. Overwatch 2, Overwatch 1 was good. 2 wasn't so good. It's just a lot of things. And then the Call of Duty IP hacking bug out there right now, it's just a lot of people are like, you know what? I don't know, man. I really think that Activision was trying to find a sucker to buy their company, and they did. Called Microsoft. British government's like, nah, you're gonna have to suffer my Activision because I would have gone through or whatever. Because it ain't gonna matter anyway. If you have a game, keep a gaming rig with an Xbox app, you have Call of Duty. If you have an AUG, the Asus or the Asus AUG, what we call it, you have Windows 11, you have Call of Duty. It's not like you can't play. Only you can play it on the Linux system, and that's Steam Deck, but you can get Windows 10 on there. So essentially, you can get your Call of Duty on Steam now. So, in closing, I think the acquisition fail was a good thing for the Xbox ecosystem. Bad thing for Activision, but good for Xbox because it kept all the crappy Call of Duty games that were garbage away from people who maybe no better or worse don't know what Call of Duty was. May play Call of Duty 4, may Call of Duty War, may Call of Duty Black Ops 1 and 2. And those games would be awesome to play again. I'm wrong. But with this hacking bug out there right now, IP bug, I don't think you want that on your Game Pass server. Somebody be able to hack into IPs and take them. So I don't think Microsoft wants to have that. So this is kind of a blessing in disguise for both companies, but more so for Microsoft and Activision. Activision right now has to figure out what the hell's going on with their IP issues and get that nipped in the butt. And I think this is the best thing that can happen to Microsoft. And, I have no hate or love for Microsoft. I think they're a crappy company sometimes myself too. But at least sometimes The sun will shine on a dog's ass occasionally, and this time it shined on Microsoft. And they got pardoned from buying this cluster F of a mess called Call of Duty or Activision, featuring Call of Duty. Now, I'm saying that they wouldn't put Call of Duty on the back burner for a couple of years and come back to it later on. But I think they'll probably halo it out where it becomes a more watered down version of Call of Duty. And it'd be like, okay, well, we're playing this now. And whatever, it's fine. But you see what they did to Halo. So Halo Infinite is pretty much dead in the water. Battlefield 2042 has more players than Halo does. And that's saying something. Halo Infinite came out earlier. It's a more popular IP, they said. But whatever. Not for me, guys, really. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my video. Thank you all for my shout out to my subscribers, all 84 of you. I love all you very much. I wish you guys the very best. I'll be at work tomorrow night. So this time tomorrow night, I'll be winding down. I'll make I'll make a year in. I'll make a weekend roundup. I won't mention this video at all, but I'll mention mostly the other topics of the week. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday morning, Thursday night about what happened to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And I'll break down maybe a 20-minute video of what went wrong and why it's probably the biggest cluster of Call of Duty games. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.